forgot. What did you think of the Destiny Gundam Violetta?
I liked it. And I didn't realize at first that it was more violet than blue. That's why I.
Well, I also had to refresh the paint a bit.
Ah.
I did replace most of the red with a nice lime red, though.
Nice.
And the green accents because, of course. This was actually a potential candidate for the Pegasus Destiny Gundam.
Ooh.
Ultimately, I decided not to go with that because if I'm gonna make one of those, I have an idea of what resources I'm gonna use. These were not it. Like, I'd be kit bashing an Immortal Justice, a Rising Freedom, and another copy of the HG Cosmic Era Destiny, as opposed to the original HG Destiny Gundam.
Alrighty. The links have been sent. You know the spiel.
Oh, there's another thing I forgot to mention. If I'm lucky, by the end of tonight, I'll have ordered a Bionicle set that I've been searching for since 2003.
Ooh. Hello, Internet.
So,
Oh. I'm sorry.
I'll tell you more about it
I
later.
thought you were done.
I had to sneeze.
I'm sorry. Hello, Internet. Welcome to the stream. Vegas Bear here, as always, with Mekumon.
Hello.
And you may notice I have this on my hand. Fucking Carpent Tunnel is a bitch.
Ooh.
So, I gotta wear this for a while.
Here's hoping it's not uncomfortable.
It's not necessarily uncomfortable, just hard to get used to. Especially considering I'm right-handed.
Yeah, that sounds like a pain.
So, today is Thursday. Oh, shit. Forgot to move this over to the other screen. Today is Thursday, so today we will be playing Kona 2 Brume.
remember, people, be careful. Don't let your vans float away on a block of ice in Canada.
So, I found this recently in my stash of stuff. Kamen Rider Kuga, Volume 1.
Ooh, fun.
Yep. Apparently they had to, they released the first 2 volumes and then had to double back because it wasn't translated correctly. Still, I have Volume 1, and if they ever release the rest, I'll be happy. Because this manga is actually really damn good. It's a reimagining of 2000's Kamen Rider Kuga. And it incorporates stuff from Kamen Rider Agito.
Here's what I was about to say. So, you know those Baton sets from 2003?
Yeah.
At the time, there were 2 in particular I wanted to find most. I only managed to track down one of the few, at least for that year. And they were of the 2 main Matoran characters from the Mask of Light movie. Takua the Chronicler, with his coastal crab Puku, a crab the size of a fucking horse, and the other was Jala, the captain of the guard, and a Gecko bird.
Ooh.
The Gecko bird was from a particular scene in the movie. Didn't stick around for very long. I've been really fond of both these characters. I liked their friendship dynamic. So, I have wanted those 2 sets for a while. I only managed to get Takua. What's funny is that of the Titan sets from 2003, Jala was the only one I was missing. Because Takua and Puku managed to get my hands on that one. My parents got me the Takuta Nuva set, so that follows Takanuva, the Toa of Light, and Bakuna, the main villain of the series, in one.
Cool.
I was just missing the captain of the guard and his trusty bird. Well, I managed to find one for a reasonable price. It's as complete as I need it to be. Sure, it doesn't have the instructions or the box, but I really don't need them. I can look up the instructions if I really have to. Besides, I'm mostly getting it for the actual captain of the guard, not necessarily the bird. The Gecko bird is a bonus. Because, like, my only other option is, hey, there's just the actual Matoran himself. sold alongside his best friend Takua the Chronicler. Takua's not complete. Jala is, though. And for an incomplete Takua and complete Jala, the seller wanted almost $80.
That seems excessive.
Uh-huh. Because, like, if I can find Takua himself, I can actually do a little part count.
Alright, so, last time on Kona, we ended up at the Hamilton Mines and found some shit.
So, as their stock built, the Torrent from 2003 are roughly 23 pieces. That's not much. Let me put it to you this way, that's still slightly less than the original Talamata would have gotten on average.
Damn.
The Talamata tend to be closer to like 25-ish pieces, depending on the set.
Okay.
And keep in mind, for what is effectively 1.5 of these, seller wanted about 80-ish bucks.
Yeah.
Go over to one of the individually packed Torrent from that year, say Hali, the Gamatoran Koli player turned Chronicler turned Future Toa, and usually you'll find people wanting approximately $30 for that. Still expensive for one of those tiny little things, but more manageable.
Yeah, it's still a lot, though.
I think in Ali's case, they're accounting for the fact that this is a popular character with an older, over 20 years old now. Because, like, those Tauren, the 6 individually packed ones, they tend to vary, but hover more so in the 20 to 30 range.
Ah, there's a button for the flashlight. You said 20 to 30 range?
Again, keep in mind, 20-year-old sets, and some of these characters are fan favorites.
Right.
I think the cheapest one of the batch I've seen was Tobi. He's a more minor character, though he did play a role in the original Flash game that started everything on the website.
Oh, yeah.
By this point, he's had a change of color scheme and mask, because in-universe, when he got rebuilt with the other Matoran after the Borakala attack, I'm certain a lot of what I'm talking about sounds like gibberish to people who've never followed my uncle in their lives.
Hell,
Like,
I'm
he wanted
struggling
to
just a
emulate.
little bit.
So, early half of 2003, the filler wave, because they needed more time to set up Mask of Light. The Toa Nuva, the heroes of the island, have had their powers stolen from them, so they have to rely on the powers that their special masks give them. This crisis ultimately gets resolved with Toa becoming a little closer and more appreciative of each other and their powers. Basically, after the events of the 2002 story, they got slightly overbloated egos and taken down a peg.
Got it.
After all, wouldn't you have a slightly overbloated ego if you took down a massive army by dealing with its two queens?
Yeah.
An army that, mind you, was devastating the island you called home, putting the lives of your villagers you swore to protect at risk, though never directly attacking the villagers unless they get in the way. Poor Limatorin. The inhabitants of the village of Air, they got what I lovingly call face-huggered.
Oh, Lord.
The Borok, the main antagonist of that year, had their own little collectible mask called Kona, which acted like the brain of the Borok machine.
Are those the things that could, like, turn into a ball?
The Borok are the things that could turn into a ball, yeah.
I fucking love those, man!
I kind of also want to track for a set of all 6 of the originals. I still have 2 of my originals. So, I might also bring up the Borok Kal were basically reuses of the Borok for the first half of Year 3, just with new silver parts. This was the Elite Squad.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Vaguely, but I remember it.
They had different powers. They were fully independent of the rest of the Swarm. I'm getting ahead of myself. So, like I said, the Borok are fully mechanical in the universe and driven by these things called Kona, which are mask-like organisms that are squishy to the touch. To the point where they were made of a different material, a more rubber-like material, to get across just how alien they are compared to the typical masks you're used to. There are 8 breeds of Kona, each with its own unique power. If a Matoran or Toa were to have their mask removed and replaced with one of these Kona, those Kona are strong enough to override the willpower of even a Toa, you know, the big dang heroes that are saving the island, and make them brainwashed servants of the Swarm. And the entire population of the village of Air, save 2 survivors, was inflicted with these. Including the Toa of Air, Liwa. So, like, imagine if instead of, you know, implanting a xenomorph inside of you, a facehugger took over your mind and basically turned you into a zombie of sorts.
Yeah, that's, equally fucked up.
Now imagine that happening to all of your friends and neighbors, with you being one of only 2 people to escape. And the person, the demigod that is supposed to be protecting your village, also got slapped with one of these. Now you understand just how hard the Village of Air was hit. By the end of the 2002 story, there was no Village of Air. They had to rebuild from the ground up.
Yikes.
The population was alive, but their village itself was decimated. Now, these Krana were probably some of the most devilishly clever collectibles of their time. See, the Kanohi masks of the first year, they were manageable. Because while there were a lot of them, there was still kind of a limit. There's only 12 types of masks. And they only prioritize getting the types that the Toa wear.
Right.
So that's roughly 6 masks in 6 colors a piece. That number doubles if you include the noble masks. The Krana took that and said, "Hold my fruity coconut drink." Because there's 8 breeds of Krana for 6 breeds of Balrog in 2 colors apiece. One active, one inactive.
Huh.
So that's like, what? 48 multiplied by 2?
Je m'appelle Thomas Matouche. Je suis mécanicien machiniste à l'entretien. Un des responsables. C'est à cause du chien de garde de Hamilton, Stephen Mark. Lui et son équipe de sécurité. Ils pensent qu'il y a un coup qui se prépare contre la compagnie. Et comme d'habitude, on soupçonne l'Indien.
In fact, let me double check that math.
Oui.
A Krana
L'aile E.
for 6
Oubliez ça,
Balrog,
tout est barré.
48.
C'est juste les
Then
poches
multiply
qui
that result by 2 for the inactive set. You would get with the Balrog Va and the blind hat.
Mais en échange,
That's 96 Krana.
Holy shit.
C-O-R-B-O. Vous allez les trouver dans
And then year 3 gave us another 48 Krana in metallic colors.
Et 215.
That's 144 total Krana.
Un des responsables.
That's insane.
Yeah. Thankfully, that's the craziest the mask collecting ever got.
Bye.
Carl had suffered many
Because
brain-induced delusions.
also in 2002, moving into 2003, there were the
Like a
Kanohi
dream
Nuva,
that felt
the
hauntingly real.
special upgraded masks that the Toa Nuva wore. Much like the first year, there's 6 colors for 6 masks, and instead of the noble masks adding another 6 colors for 6 more masks, instead you have silver and gold versions of these masks. Why silver? Apparently, that's what a Kanohi mask looks like when it's not worn by a Toa or Matoran. They turn silvery gray because there's no power going through the mask.
Interesting.
Oh, and Matanui help you if you're trying to collect every version of the house. Worn by the Toa Nuva of Fire, primarily, Tahu, they there's one for each color of the Toa. So red, white, blue, brown, green, black. There's the silver one. There's the gold one. And then there's multiple variants of Poison How Nuva given away as prizes.
Okay.
I specify the poisoned one. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, okay then.
Yeah, they made special editions for a poisoned version of the mask because of the events of the Mask of Light story arc, where Tahu gets poisoned pretty early on, and it spreads, and it's driving him crazy. It was not a fun time to be Tahu. He had to be humbled all over again.
Damn. How many times this guy got to be humbled?
At least with this one, it makes sense because really it was largely the fault of the poison. The instant he was pinned down and they managed to get a cure working, he was thankful and more cooperative.
Okay.
Tahu is not incapable of learning, he's just got thick skull. Downfall of being the living spirit of fire, you have the passion of fire too. Which comes with its own temper issues. If you're trying to collect special masks, there's one other, actually, 3 more special masks to collect for 2003. Thankfully, all of which could be obtained in the Takuda Nuva box set. Which I did get. I just happened to lose one of these masks during the multiple moves over my life. So remember those protodermic silver-gray masks I mentioned for the Kinoki Nuva?
Yeah.
There was one made for the original Kinoki How from the first year, which adds yet another color for that mask to be available in. And there's a lore reason for why it's there in that color.
Gotta collect them all.
When the Toa of Light was brought into existence, it came at a cost. The Matoran who eventually became that Toa had to be spurred into action, motivated by the grief of losing his best friend, who gave his life protecting him.
Damn.
Jama, the captain of the guard, took a hit meant to kill Takua, and through an overdose of the power of pure, concentrated fear, it stopped his heart. The Rachi were no joke.
Those were the things that came after the
kind of serpentine-looking motherfuckers.
Yeah, they had like this, like their like their back or spine or something would open up, and there's like a slug thing in there, right?
You are correct. That's the one.
I knew it. Those guys were also
So
cool.
you want to know what? So here's 2 fun facts. First off, I would like to explain the powers of these specific sticks. So, much like the Borakal had separate powers elementally from the Toa to differentiate them, so too did the Rakshi. Instead of fire, the red Rakshi was empowered by fear. The white Rakshi, instead of ice, was anger, pure rage. There was disintegration. There was fragmentation, which manifested as things exploding. There was poison. And then there was the most devious of the lot of them, as far as my own opinion is concerned. Hunger. If that particular Rakshi touches you with its staff of power, it drains the energy from you on contact.
Fuck.
It leaves you alive. It leaves you alive. And arguably conscious. But you no longer have the energy to move. Which leads me into fun fact number 2. There's 42 of these guys.
42?
Each one with a unique power. Because each one of these powers is one the Makuta as a species possess.
Oh my god.
One Makuta is 42 Rakshi.
That's, oh, hell.
Over the course of Gen 1 Bionicle, we only got to see, in official form, 7 Rakshi. So, the canon colorations of each power set have been released. So it is possible to make these other Rakshi. For the most part. What is this 7th Rakshi, and when did this one hit the shelves? This Rakshi was, well, laser vision. And it hit the shelves in the final wave of the... Oh.
Interesting.
This one was yellow and gray. While I can't recall all the powers off the top of my head, I can at least list off a few. There's heat and cold resistance, each one an individual power, heat resistance and cold resistance. Which means they're basically anti-fire Toa, anti-ice Toa Rakshi, respectively. There's animal control, so there's a Rakshi that can literally cause any animals nearby
Powerful
to
Bear had noted
turn rabid and attack you on sight.
215 and 252, corresponding to the employee files of Pierre Marc Corbeau and Thomas Matouche. Their cases in particular had caught his
There's the
attention.
aforementioned laser vision, and the other 6 There were more powers, but I can't recall them all at the moment. I might just give you a list later if I can, be bothered.
Yeah.
Point is, the Makuta had a lot of powers, and therefore there were a lot of different Roxy types. Since the Roxy were a physical manifestation of the
This arrowhead
gaseous
suggested
form
that
that the
Mistinite had been
Makuta
known to
were
early
comprised.
peoples in the distant history of the continent, and that they had even fashioned objects from it.
The slugs that powered them are called Krata. 2 A's, 1 T. Kraata. And those little things were probably the single most dangerous thing that the Bionicle universe had to deal with at the time. See, not only as collectibles, there were legit dozens of them because, oh, make sure you get them in these molded colors for this power, that power, and the other. They came in 10 levels.
Oh boy.
Showing off the stage of evolution the Krata had gone to. And there were solid purple ones that were special. Those were called Shadow Krata, which were the highest level of evolution and tended to have all the powers at once.
Oh, lovely.
These are significantly harder to create, which is why the Makuta don't just mass produce these.
Well, at least there's that.
One thing, now, here's why they're so dangerous in universe. Most Krata, I gotta go back to the year 2001 to show this off. So, in 2001, the main antagonist, so to speak, the immediate threat, were the island's Rahi, the native wildlife. Through little fault of their own, they were forcibly given these strange, infected Kanohi masks, which drove them insane, bound them to the will of Makuta, and effectively made them his attack puppets.
Okay. I remember that.
If a Krata makes physical contact with a Kanohi mask, it will infect that mask the same way. That was how Makuta affected the masks of the Rahi in the first place. And the mask need not be separated from a living being to be infected. And now, here comes a Shadow Krata, which doesn't have to make physical contact. It can infect masks at a distance. It's never explained just how far that distance is, just that it's a big enough distance that it's a problem. Bionicle was my Lord of the Rings, if you couldn't tell.
Alright, we got the files for that dude, so we can head back over, give them to him, and he'll give us the key card we need to get to Area E.
Some kids grew up with Star Wars and Lord of the Rings, I had Transformers and Bionicle. And I cannot stress this enough. That lore is legitimately ridiculously detailed because they had 10 years to iron it all out.
That's crazy.
Keep in mind, this line was supposed to end after its first year. The big revelation about what the Tauran universe actually is and where we've been this entire time, that was supposed to come at the end of year 1.
Oui.
It took the people actually writing the series to convince LEGO, look, let it breathe a little bit, give it another couple of years, see where this goes.
Tout mérite de tomber.
Which led to the 3-year cycle that most LEGO properties get nowadays.
Depuis le début, la communauté crie, on s'est opposé à la mine.
Which, on tangent, that makes it all the sadder that Bionicle, which started this 3-year cycle in the first place, failed it so miserably.
On pourrait peut-être trouver quelque chose pour incriminer Hamilton. C'était le plan.
But I've been over that.
Mais ça a changé avec l'accident de chasse. Pierre-Marc est entré dans une colère noire.
I've gone off track anyway. So, I mentioned Jala dying to the Fear Rock Sheet.
Si on réussit ça, ça va être très long.
This led to Takua putting on the Mask of Light and becoming the Toa of Light. It was charged with Toa power like a Toa stone, so it could only do this once.
Un coup décisif.
They gave Jala funeral service in between shots.
Il parle d'Hamilton comme d'un grand visionnaire.
There's a bit more to it in the book than there is in the movie.
Un vrai. Attendez de voir ce qu'on va faire.
And they do one very particular thing to honor his legacy.
Difficile à dire. Coincé ici.
Okay.
After the big final battle with the Rakshi that led to all 6 of their Krata being captured, the Rakshi themselves, fully mechanical, much like the Bulwark, were disassembled and then reassembled into the rough shape of a bike.
Wait, what?
Wait.
The 6 Rashi were disassembled, and then using their parts and some spare Bulwark parts they had lying around, they were reassembled into a hover bike.
Ah!
Rapportez-la-moi quand vous aurez fini ce que vous avez à faire.
The plans for which were planted in Tsukuwa's, now Takanuva's, head upon ascending to Toahood. Because that too was kept inside the mask!
Je vais devoir y aller faire un tour d'ailleurs. Dès que vous aurez fini avec la carte, rapportez-la-moi.
He named this vehicle the Usanui, after the Usul crabs he used to ride.
Oh.
And when I said they did a very specific thing to honor Jala's sacrifice, Jala's mask was placed on the front of the vehicle, secured in place. One of Jala and Tekua's close friends, aforementioned Gamator and Hali, even uttered this phrase as she puts the mask in. Jala was your herald. Let him continue to lead you to victory.
Oh.
This was also back at a time where her hints of, romantic attraction, love, were still allowed to exist. Holly and Jala had a crush on each other, though being the nature of the Matoran universe, they had no frame of reference to understand the emotion. So it's even more powerful that she's the one utters that phrase and puts the mask there. Little did anyone know, she stowed away inside the bike a little bit before Takanuva took off of it. Apparently they built a trunk compartment in there. Now there's a reason they used the Rashi parts to build this thing. As Takanuva puts it, what is the Makutas shall return to him. The bike was simultaneously powered by and driven by the Kona, effectively using them as a homing beacon to lead the Toa of Light to the final battle.
Interesting.
Dès que vous aurez fini avec la carte, rapportez-la moi. Bye.
Now, to bring this full circle, recall how I mentioned that the Kinohi How was released in gray with this set?
Yeah.
That's because that's supposed to be Jawa's mask.
Oh.
With no life force left to give it power, it's faded to gray. It stays yellow in the movie, but canonically it was supposed to have faded to gray.
Now I gotta find the freaking locker room.
Now, anybody who knows Bionicle lore knows... Wait a minute, what do you mean Jawa died here? He turns into a Toa later. Well... allow me to introduce you to the big-lipped alligator moment that is Kuda Nuva. So, in this final battle, and some verbal barbs exchange, Takanuva gets it in his head to jump onto Makuta and attempt to rip the mask off. They both fall into a pool of energized protodermis, which is the plot do everything element.
Ah.
The way this stuff works is that if you are destined to change, it will transform you in a way that cannot be predicted. Sometimes you'll come out with new weapons, masks, and armor, as the Toa Mata did when they became the Toa Nuva. The first year Toa to the second year. Other times, it'll turn this itty-bitty fly on the wall into a giant hecking dragon thing. And other times still, it'll just kill you on the spot.
Lovely.
Like, brutally melt you like you've been splashed with the most powerful acid in existence. This substance is also sapient. This do-everything plot element has a sentence of its own. It is capable of holding conversation.
Oh.
It's also extremely important to the backstory of the universe, but we don't have time for that. Like, we literally don't have time for that. There is a video on YouTube that is the condensed lore of G1 Bionicle, and it's 9 hours long.
Holy shit!
Yeah. That's what happens when your story takes place over the course of 100,000 years.
Alright, so I got the key card for Area E.
Ranting about the energized program as a site. In this particular case, it fused the Toa and the Master of Shadows together, creating Takuta Nuva, a one-shot, one-time fusion that seems to have his own intelligence instead of being comprised of the sum of his parts. One of his many bizarre powers was the ability to infuse a piece of his own life force into another. So he did this with Jawa's mask, in turn bringing him back to life.
Huh.
He is promptly crushed to death by the gate that leads to Metro Nui, the major location for the next 2 years. If you're going by the book canon, which is the primary canon for me, then Takanuva managed to just walk right out of the smoke of the gate crashing and collapsing like nothing ever happened. And they never addressed the existence of Takanuva again.
Huh.
It came out of nowhere. It was strange. It did things nobody explained, and it was never addressed again. You see why I call it a big lipped alligator moment?
Yep.
But either way, I'm off track. Though I can bring this around. So there was a special box set named after this character that comprised of the 2 sets required to build it. The 7th Toa, Takanuva, and, Makuta, the Master of Shadows. One of the special masks was the Grey How for, Jawa. There was also a special mask for Makuta, which was supposed to resemble the version of the mask he wore in the movie. One of many such attempts. The third and final of the special masks is a clear version of the Mask of Light with gold glitter in the plastic.
Oh, okay. I can kind of see why they would make that.
This was supposed to depict the Mask of Light while activated. When I lost my original gold Mask of Light, this alternate clear one was the one my figure for Takanuva just continued to wear for the entirety of his existence.
Or was it just the prolonged exposure of his brain to the Mistonite that was beginning to warp his senses?
I got the mask here somewhere, I'm just choosing not to look for it.
Either way, Thomas Matouche was well and truly dead.
So,
The explosion had taken him out as he was about to grab the Mistonite phaser.
the man we've been talking to has been dead all along.
Because of course he is.
Can I push this? No? Okay.
this aimless rant and actually move on from it, there's a reason I compare Bionicle to Lord of the Rings.
Lots of lore.
Beyond the fact that one part, lots of lore, the other part, the movie Mask of Light is literally structured like a pair of best friends end up on the most unlikely mission possible when an item of immense importance effectively lands in their laps. So they have to take this item to a very specific location in order to defeat the big bad. It's a very loose comparison, but it is one that the fans have made time and time again. Myself included. Heck, there's even jokes about the Matoran effectively being hobbits because canonically a Matoran is about 4.5 feet tall.
There was no longer anything useful here. The scientist hadn't set foot in his
Tala
office
are
in
about
ages.
7 feet
He
tall,
had
by the
probably
way.
taken everything
Damn.
to Hamilton's manor.
Okay, there's something here in this room that I have not written down. Or maybe, actually, it may not even be in this room.
Considering you haven't needed to worry about your temperature, I can only assume the climate control is still running.
Oh, it is.
So I guess the water you've been swimming through over, time and time again has been heated this entire time.
Or at least, room temperature.
Not freezing.
Yeah.
It's like, figures, after all that time wandering around through snow, it feels weird to be perpetually indoors at this part of the game.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Won't be for long, though.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we can't quite stay in the FTP Foundation. They're still cleaning up after you-know-who broke containment.
Give me 1 second. I'm about to try something.
I'm in the middle of an ad break anyways.
Okay. I had to test because I believe these statues are collectibles, and I really did not want to show myself shooting one. It's a statue of Mary.
Yeah. Probably good that you didn't.
I still shot it, and I feel like absolute dog shit for it. But
Considering the circumstances and the context, I think you'll be
Few
forgiven.
things were more exciting to a private investigator than finding a pay stub. Francoise revealed her employee number, which Carl had a hunch would be useful.
Employee number. Maybe if I go to the archives.
This is probably the most out there thing I'm about to say, and I'm not entirely sure I even understand what I'm about to say.
174. This was
Who
the
says that
employee
faith
number
and
of
fact cannot
Francoise
coexist?
Dallaire. Carl would
Just
be able to
alter
learn
faith
a
to
little
fit
more
fact.
about the investigation to which she'd been subjected.
Instead of people stubbornly doing it the other way around. This whole thing popped up because, you know, the spiel with the statue and everything, for whatever goddamn reason, put one of the conversations with Ashley in Mass Effect 1 in my head.
So I'm gonna head back to Area B
Carl
and
had
see
recovered what Jules Demers had sent him to the lab for.
if
It was
anything
not without
happens.
relief that he told himself he could finally return to the surface.
Because the guy asked for the key card, so if I like, if I come back with the key card, I wonder like if anything will happen or not.
As long as I'm going off in random directions, here's one that I could bring up. I probably already told you about this one, but I've seen people suggesting that instead of the DC animated universe, Teen Titans actually connects to the Batman, the cartoon from around the time.
Huh.
With the art styles matching up more closely, the ages of the characters matching up more closely.
I think you might be onto something there.
And the skill set of Robin in particular. The stuff that particular Robin manages to pull off is like, he'd have been god modded in the DCAU proper.
Delirium. The information received could be verified. Could the Brume act as a bridge to the past?
Say that last part again.
He would have been overpowered in the proper DC animated universe.
Yeah.
But
Plus-
considering the stuff that Bats and Robin dealt with in their own show, The Batman, it makes sense that this Robin will be so overpowered if it's that Robin.
Also, it's heavily implied that the Robin in Teen Titans is Dick Grayson.
Thank you, Larry.
So, if that is the case, it couldn't be the DCAU Robin, because the one that Batman said was with the Titans was Tim Drake.
Also, not for nothing, Wally West is Kid Flash of the show.
Yeah.
Wally West is the Flash in the DCAU.
So it wouldn't make any sense. Although, I mean, you could try to make the Wally thing make sense with time travel, but no. Let's not go there.
We really don't need the cosmic treadmill involved, please. And now I get to lead into a silly little joke I found in some Teen Titans memes.
Exited the bowels of the earth and finally reached fresh air. Colbert could now set off.
Like father, like adopted son. Robin later confirms to the other Titans that he has contingency plans for each and every one of them. The other Titans take this about as well as could be expected. That is to say, not at all.
Yeah. He's just like his adopted dad.
Though I will give Robin points for being upfront with this without provocation.
Oh yeah, because with Batman, like, the Justice League had to find out the hard way.
In the case of, why aren't there any contingency plans for you going evil there, Robin? Oh, there are. I'm just not the one who made them.
Huh.
If I did make them, they wouldn't be very effective. I know how to stop them.
Did Batman really make one for Robin?
It's implied. After all, Batman makes contingency plans for everyone. He's even made plans for himself, which hinge very heavily upon switching to an alternate persona.
I just remember this one scene where it's like Superman is talking to Batman and he's like, I can't believe you would be so egotistical as to not having a contingency plan for yourself. And then Batman just says, "Oh, there is one. It's called the Justice League." Which is sweet. But when you have a contingency plan for each member of the league, how does that work?
The caveat there being each individual member of the league.
Eh ben,
Oh, yeah.
vous avez survécu.
See, there's details in the wording. Words are important. Batman's basically implying, team up on me. Don't give me the chance.
Ah, j'avais perdu espoir. À partir de ce modèle, je pourrais finaliser l'instrument installé sur la tour radio. Et vous avez la c'est parfait, parfait. On pourra alimenter le prototype et vous en faire une arme.
New weapon. Yo! I got a fucking phaser!
Avec ce prototype, il
The fact that I was about to suggest is a Tesla gun is
on pourra chasser les
disturbingly on
et
point.
éliminer des obstacles comme ces sacrés stalagmites. Il faut se rendre dans la ville, en bordure du site en quarantaine. Je vous expliquerai la dernière étape sur place.
So, okay, we gotta go over here, I guess.
According to Jules Demers' indications, now that he had the much-touted...
Also, I'm just
mystery
gonna put this
phaser,
out there. We know that there is a
he
version of the
expected
Teen
to
Titans
do
that
was
exists
to go
in
to
the
the valley
DCAU.
east of the refuge.
Batman says as much offhanded in one episode of Thatch.
Yep. I just wonder what the lineup
Static is
is.
brought to the, like Static's brought to the Batcave and he asks, you know, where's Robin? And Batman says, with the Titan, and never elaborate.
I just have to wonder what the lineup is, because
It is a good question. We know from the Batman and Harley Quinn movie, if you want to consider that canon to the rest of the DCU, that a version of Starfire exists.
okay.
If you want to consider that CD supervillain bar to be any amount of proof whatsoever. Like, it's literally just some kind of sports bar that supervillains hang out at where the waitresses are all dressed as different super people, hero and villain alike. And the menu items are likewise named after them. It's also from this that we get confirmation that Power Girl exists.
I thought she did exist in the DCAU.
There's a Watchtower database video all about that headache. I could not do a better job than them, so...
Okay.
The conclusion they inevitably came to was... the data, it does not line up. Headache!
Error 404. I'm gonna head into I'm gonna head to the house, see if anything's changed. Outside of a new snow globe, I don't think so.
You know, now that I'm thinking about the DC animated universe stuff, I'm still convinced that at some point Bruce set up a little something called the Pennyworth Foundation. It's designed to help orphan children.
You know he did. Although I wouldn't be surprised if, like, when the company was it bought up or just like taken over?
It was kind of taken over from the inside when it became Wayne Powers. It was like a little of both.
I'm just not comfortable with showing me like attacking these statues.
Understandable.
Wait, can I not? Okay, I cannot fire my weapon in here.
But that statue's safe, I guess.
Thank God. Oh, don't tell me I wasn't supposed to actually, like, shoot the statue. Alright, well. Everything seems to be fine here.
Merci
So you
pour
were
votre
gonna say
aide,
about
Monsieur
Wayne
Faubert.
Powers.
Les réparations que vous avez faites
I imagine
vont faire
Wayne
une grande
Powers
différence pour
may
la
have
suite.
tried to, like, get, like, close the Pennyworth Foundation at some point.
Ça confirme mes intuitions. Je sentais l'œil de la sécurité de
Which,
Hamilton.
considering
sur
how
votre
I
compagnie.
picture it to function, the only way they'd actually back off from that
Certaines
is
candidatures
if they
que
were
j'ai acceptées,
afraid of the
c'était
public
peut-être trop évident
backlash.
que je les
Because,
choisissais selon mes propres
again,
critères.
this is
L'équipe
a
de
foundation
sécurité a
meant
dû
to
voir
lend
l'enjeu.
aid to
Mon
orphan
poste aux ressources
children to
humaines,
help
c'était
them
une couverture.
get a
J'ai été
better
chargé
place
par
in the world.
un autre employeur d'enquêter sur des irrégularités fiscales qu'on soupçonnait à la HMC. Et je commençais tout juste à tenir quelque chose, mais il y a eu l'explosion.
You know, it's meant to build a brighter future.
Yeah.
J'imagine que je vous dois un peu de confiance. Je suis enquêteur à la Gendarmerie royale du Canada. Ou du
And
moins avant que tout ça arrive,
as-
je l'étais.
Corrupt as Gotham in general is, I don't think they'd stand by and let something like this get shut down.
Faites attention à vous, Monsieur Faubert.
Especially if Barbara is still commissioner.
It's like, if nothing else, I can definitely say not much has been consistent in Gotham. They don't really take violence or negativity against children very well. I guess there's a line even Gothamites won't cross.
I guess so.
Now, Lex Luthor, on the other hand, probably has an entire factory staffed with children, let's be real.
Entire factory staffed with children baking pies.
So, at least there's that.
So he can steal 50 of them.
It was cakes, not pies, but yes.
Fuck. No, I'm thinking of the Super Best Friends thing, where Wooly the Liar stole 50 pies.
Which was based on an actual passage from, like, a superhero-based book where it was Luthor stealing cakes.
Yeah, the pies bit came from when Wooly, Pat, and Matt and like a few others were like on like a little road trip, and they ended up at a McDonald's, and Wooly somehow got like all the freaking apple pies.
Actually, on the note of things I foresaw on the top fourth wall, they put out another episode,
Shattered Grid.
Shattered Grid. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm gonna.
I'm waiting for the storyline, like for the stories to finally get back on track, because now that Tournament of Champions is done, finally.
After several delays and an apocalypse due.
Yeah. And I'm not gonna sit here and be like, where's the new storyline? Because I've seen, like, I follow Lewis on Twitter, and he's mentioned, oh my god, he's mentioned several times that like he's been like swamped.
Hell, he's mentioned it as much in his episode. How the schedule is constantly in a state of chaos.
He was fleeing at full speed. Man was not wearing a helmet. He's part of Hamilton Mining Corporation. I'm honestly surprised that I cannot take a picture of the body.
Probably best you don't.
Well, no, I've been doing that for like documentation purposes. I just find it bizarre that this one body I can't snap a pic of.
On the note of the universe we're setting up, another thing I'm convinced of is that Lex is still looking for a way to sell superpowers as an over-the-counter drug.
Would not surprise me.
I can think of at least 2 ways he can do this, with neither of which being too overly likely, but a man of Lex's intellect and resources could find a way.
Alright,
So,
there's a
the
Mr. Knight
first-
here. Where's the animal?
So, the first one is like, you know the superpower pills to the Injustice universe?
Yeah.
Developing something like that. I think Lex actually did manage to make something like that in another universe outside of Injustice, where it gave him Superman's powers for like 24 hours. I think it was like All-Star Superman or something.
I remember for a time Lex was like went real crazy in the comics and thought he was Superman.
But yeah, like something along those lines. And the second option is nth metal supplements.
Ooh.
We know that nth metal can be used to temporarily grant superpowers. And if Lex could get his hands on a decent supply of the stuff, he could sell them like iron supplements.
So, I had a thought recently in regards to the DCM2.
Yeah.
So remember how I kind of hinted at the idea of Frank Castle being the new Ghost Rider?
First off, that's a freaking amazing idea.
Because, like, last time anyone ever saw Frank Castle, he was going after the League of Assassins. And ever since, there's not been a single peep out of either of them. But in recent years, there has been a new Ghost Rider who is a lot more brutal than previous Ghost Riders.
And in fact, the last person from that League of Assassins ever encountered by anybody in the universe was I believe that was Urare in Batman Beyond,
Yep.
and she basically vanished off the face of the earth.
It was implied the League killed her. Although, in this case, we can imply that it wasn't the League!
Either Frank bumped her off, or she survived and has been in hiding trying to heal ever since.
But I also had another idea. Concerning a character named Moon Knight.
Oh boy.
Eventually, Mark Spector's gonna kick the bucket. Personalities and all. So,
Unless
Khonshu...
the apparent,
Huh?
unless the apparent god that they serve just happens to casually grant immortality to his champions.
He doesn't.
Fair enough. Proceed.
So... Damn!
I suddenly get the feeling you're going for a Moon Knight Beyond scenario.
Sort of. Khonshu needs a new
A new champion.
yeah, Khonshu's gonna need a new champion once Mark kicks the bucket. And it's gonna be hard to find a suitable candidate because Mark had a lot going on. Which made
So many moving parts, so little time.
yeah, which made him Khonshu's like. Wait a minute. Where the hell is... Oh, that's his horse. That's a horse.
The sordid and uncanny sight of this horse, stiffened by the frost, made an unpleasant impression on him.
But yeah, he's gonna need a new champion, and because of Mark's, problems...
His unique mind.
It's gonna be hard to find someone to top Mark.
So, if one doesn't occur naturally, you might have to just make one.
Like, Khonshu could try and find someone with DID again, but would that really be the best shot? Like, would that really be...
The fact that a child lived in this isolated place made Carl shudder, and he couldn't think of the fate that this child must have suffered.
Oh no!
His stomach. This ordeal had to end.
Well, we know what happened to the kid.
Oh.
Oh my god.
That poor kid.
That's like in Godzilla vs. Biollante when a bunch of psychic children are drawing. And the teacher says, "Okay, kids."
Was this creature what the occupants of this place place we're afraid of.
Time to show time to show us what you've been drawing, and they just all like throw up their drawings, and it's all Godzilla, who, keep in mind, has been dormant for at least like 3 years.
Ugh. Not a good sign.
2-3 years, one of those. Ah! A tripwire. What was it? What did the tripwire activate?
Some kind of flashbang, I think?
Yeah, it might be. Because I'm not seeing any kind of weapon.
Unless it was, like, directly above the door.
Doesn't look like it. But yeah, like, Khonshu needs a new champion, and because of how good Mark was, Khonshu is, like, taking his time, because he needs to find one that's just as good or better. Problem is, it's hard to, you know, find someone as talented as Mark, since Mark kind of had a disadvantage, kind of had an advantage. So yeah, a new Moon Knight.
Alright.
I haven't really gone much further than that. Just that there's probably a new Moon Knight running around. Whether or not this one is as equally crazy as the other one, time will tell.
Cut to them proceeding to land their jet in the middle of a four-way intersection.
Cut to them throwing all their weapons and just going, random bullshit, go! What if I just do that? What if I just make the next Moon Knight the meme?
Oh boy.
I mean, obviously, like, keep it a little grounded. But, like...
I'm almost half tempted to have to suggest this next one having a mutant healing factor, or just to make sure they stick around for as long as Khonshu needs.
Well, if I understand the powers of the suit correctly, they won't need a healing factor.
It would also keep them from dying of old age.
That is true.
Especially with no adamantium poison to worry about.
Yo, what the hell?
Because, like, short of an interdimensional zombie plague, there's not much that can overpower a healing factor.
That's true.
Carl no longer looked any further. This was another victim of the same nightmare.
Oh, this guy must have set up the trap that blinded me.
forward to writing the Spidey section of the story when I get there. I just gotta make sure I have my roadmap ready.
Alright, let's test this puppy out. Oh my god! I think I have a new favorite weapon.
Yeah, I'd say getting that up to instant replay was amazing.
Where's the Geiger counter? It's this way.
Why is
Oh!
everything turning red?
Fucking tripwires. Maybe this has something to do with red mist tonight.
Anyways, yeah. Still looking forward to doing what I'm planning on doing with Benji.
Fuck. Ah, there we go. Ooh. Fuck. God damn it.
This rock looked just as Jules described it. Unsettling and bewitching all at once. It burned you just by looking at it. And yet, you couldn't help but want to touch it. The Mistonite was fascinating. Its texture, its flamboyance. You wanted to know its origin, its power, its possibilities. To discover through it a great secret.
Okay, no more tripwires. That's good. And the doggos met me here. Good boys. Watchtower. Okay.
So when it comes to, like, Benji Parker as the new Spider-Man, there was one villain that whose concept is coming back to me. Even if the name of this villain keeps changing. The current name draft is Master Code.
Master code.
A living mass of binary code.
Ooh. Also, I found a shotgun.
So imagine, if you will, this massive binary code capable of entering any machine with a computer. Or rather, with computational capacity. Like computers, televisions, phones, even friggin' calculators. If it has an internet connection, it allows it to jump to go from one to the next.
Right.
Just double checking because I heard my own voice just kind of go quiet while I was in mid-sentence on
Well,
the street.
Yeah, it did, but I got the gist.
Previous name drafts have included Codebreaker. My original name for him was Binary Man. Right now, Master Code is the name I'm happiest with. Because not only can he enter machines that have sufficient computational capacity, he can control them. Any machine he's inhabited for any amount of time has a part of him left behind,
Oh.
which he can then control like a limb.
That's
So,
not
keep him away from Iron Man.
good. We suddenly get a repeat of that scene from fucking Age of Ultron with all the with the Iron Legion.
Like, you'd better have upgraded that security. Because you're gonna need some hella firewalls to deal with this.
Alrighty.
Keep in mind, that was just my first supervillain I ever concocted. I made him back in high school. So I've been hanging on to this for about 12 years?
I've made a number of different villains over the years, but I don't care for most of them. Well, not anymore. However, there's one that I made, I think, in college that I do like. And I believe I've even like brought this up to you before. I honestly cannot remember what I originally named him. Probably something like Palpion or something. He has the power to create blood butterflies that can explode on contact.
Yeah, this is sounding familiar. Probably cause them blutterflies.
And if he himself touches someone, he has essentially turned them into an active bomb and can set them off whenever he wants. And if he does, their back will explode. creating the image of red butterfly wings. Or like a red X.
That is awesome and gory at the same time. That is like beautifully over the top.
Because of his ability, he's found work as a hitman. Because there ain't no hero's gonna be one to team up with something like that.
And then there's the symbiote hive that is a new Oscorp.
Did you just say is a new Oscorp?
Is the new Oscorp.
Is the... Oh.
So, in the years since Harry took over the company and has since been trying to move past the legacy of the Goblin, they've been trying to develop gear for superheroes in much the same way Stark Industries does. Only instead of just doing it for one superhero, they do so to empower current heroes, work with S.H.I.E.L.D., all that good stuff.
Yeah.
There may or may not be a certain spider-themed superhero on payroll with their identity protected.
Victims of the explosion. It was apparent that, despite all the scientists who gravitated around Hamilton Mining Corporation, there was no actual Mystenites.
Whose younger brother has just become Spider-Man.
Previous experience that had nothing to do with this astonishing substance. It was destined to fail. From the very first day, everyone's fate was already sealed.
One of the many developments they're working with is attempting to harness the medicinal capacity that symbiotes naturally have. Bonding with one of these can literally cure cancer. Or at the very least hold it at bay so long that your body just naturally adapts to it. So, with the potential medical breakthroughs there, naturally, Oscorp is on top of this, and trying to keep as hush-hush about it as possible. LexCorp may or may not have a few spies on Oscorp payroll.
Fair enough.
This might have also sparked the super supplements plan. Like, yeah, chock full of all the vitamins and things you need to stay healthy, and gives you a nice superpower boost on top of it.
Why be you when you can be super? Wait, did I accidentally just create a...
Maybe you'll...
Did I just accidentally make a tagline for his product?
I'm stealing that.
Damn it!
So, I mean, it's a good idea. It legit sounds like something they do.
Yeah.
Likewise, Oscorp's probably something along the lines of, when you get this working, we'll help you feel amazing. We're working on it.
Oh, that's lovely. A mass grave. Doc? Holy shit, man.
Enfin, vous en avez mis du temps. Nous sommes près du cœur de la tempête. Il doit y avoir des fragments de mystanite rouge dans les environs.
Hey, Fab one.
Servez-vous de votre compteur GGR. Il m'en faut moins 4. Revenez me voir ensuite. En théorie, en les combinant à la mystanite bleue et en les soumettant à certaines fréquences d'ondes radio, ça devrait...
I'm thinking
vraiment
the
calmer
current
la tempête.
Superman is John Kent, Clark's son, who only got Clark to retire after months of debate and argument.
Avez-vous des questions? L'explosion a répandu une grande quantité de mystanite au nord d'ici, en pleine forêt. La brume s'y est installée. Une équipe d'intervention d'urgence a été déployée sans savoir à quoi ils avaient affaire. Ils ont été envoyés à leur mort. Des membres des Premières Nations leur sont venus en aide. Je ne m'attends pas à trouver des survivants.
Because let's face it, as long as Clark maintains an able body, which that's not hard with our son, he's gonna keep going for as long as he possibly can. Being he's functionally immortal with the light of the yellow sun, and that's gonna be quite a long time.
Well,
Tous ces gens avec les effets de la brume.
I don't know about functionally immortal, but he's definitely gonna live a long ass time.
Well, so long lived as to make the difference irrelevant.
Yeah.
Le noyau de la météorite était une composition chimique différente, rougeâtre, avec ses propres propriétés. Presque en
No, it just reminds me of
avec celles de la
Invincible.
mystanite bleue.
Think, Mark. What will you have after 5,000 years?
En induisant
You, Dad.
certaines conditions, cependant,
I'll have
I'll
you.
have
les
you.
effets s'alignent comme en Savion.
Cut to Omni-Man seeing his hands covered in his own son's blood, and then just flying, like, just flying away from Earth, and the blood just burning off as he leaves the atmosphere.
I'm convinced that on some level, Omni-Man does actually love his son. He's just not ready to admit the emotional connection.
Oh, he does. He does love his son. Hell, in season 2, like, he fully regretted what he did to Mark.
So he's not completely irredeemable, but he's still a monster.
Well, in the comics, he gets better.
At least as far as the context of the TV show, because that is all I really know.
So,
He is a deeply, deeply flawed individual.
yes. So as it turns in a later episode in season 2, we find out that after he left Earth, he spent all that time just wandering, and since his species can hold their breath for very long periods of time, he's just wandering around space. He almost let a black hole pull him in. that's how fucked up he was. Like that's how much what Mark said affected him. And also the fact that, like,
both what he said out loud and what he implied.
It was there, at the end of the tunnel, that the force that was shaking the world took refuge. The storm that Carl had been trying to navigate for quite some time.
Because, again, what will you have in 500 years? I'll have you.
yeah. But also, because he fled from Earth, he's now essentially just abandoned his duty to the Viltrum Empire. Which, that also has him kind of fucked up. Because it's like that he has lived his entire life in servitude of Viltrum. And in one moment, he abandons it over his son. It's like he's having a crisis here. But eventually
You gotta break him down before you reassemble him.
yeah. Eventually he ends up on another planet where he eventually falls in love again with a woman native to the planet, and they end up having another kid. When Mark finally finds his father, he finds that he has a half brother named Oliver. And it seems that Omni-Man genuinely cares about this family.
If that was a moose, it was the most massive beast he had ever seen in his life. And it was so white, its eyes so blue.
Oh no.
It was best to stay away.
Someone took the Mistonite.
Good.
Carl felt that he would soon come to the end of his quest. His inventory weighed heavily by his side.
At least it didn't move very far, right?
Yep. It must have... What must have happened is it impacted and then, like, skipped along the ground into the cave. Yeah, it bounced along the ground into the cave. But yeah, like, Omni-Man genuinely cares about his new family, and I mean that he also still cares about Mark. And when the subject of his wife, ex-wife, Debbie comes up, he looks sad and just says, "I messed that up, big time." Like, he understands he fucked up.
So, little by little, he is rebuilding himself into a better man.
Yep.
It's just gonna take quite a long time with having to unlearn everything he learned. But still, Mark gave him that reality check.
Yeah. Funny thing is, in the comics, Mark ends up traveling back in time to, like, the beginning of the series with, like, he's in his younger body, but with all of his memories of what he went through. And he uses that to stop Omni-Man from killing the Guardians of the Globe like he did in Mark's original timeline. And when Mark confronts him, like, after he's been, you know, after he's been, like, locked up and they have him under control, Mark goes to talk to him, and Omni-Man just says thank you. Deep down, he didn't want to do what he did. Omni-Man is underneath all...
Complex.
Well, yes, he is complex. Underneath all of the Viltrumite shit, the propaganda, the indoctrination, the Kool-Aid,
Deep at the core of this heap of problems is a good man.
yep. And he proves that with his love for Mark and Oliver.
A cave like this could have escaped.
It's almost like this is how you do a Superman parody right, by continuing to make him a good man under all the garbage.
Yep. He's not just Superman, but evil. He is more than that.
I'd argue this is more of what an evil Superman would look like than the Injustice one, but that'd probably be fine.
But like, if we're talking Superman clones that are not redeemable at all, it's always going to be fucking Homelander. And as I have mentioned before, Homelander himself is a fucking joke.
The atmosphere in the cave was heavy with despair. It smelled like a tomb. Madness,
Like, I just
sadness.
picture you make a custom match in Mortal Kombat or whatever it was with Omni-Man fighting Homelander, and Homelander crumbles in one punch. This is what happens when you get an irredeemable Superman clone, no humanity whatsoever, who is also so egotistical, so sure of himself, that he's never really put his powers through their paces, never had to actually fight before. So he literally has no tolerance for pain.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why even significantly weaker super people could still beat this guy in an actual fight.
Hell, like we've joked about people who could beat Homelander, but legitimately the Powerpuff Girls could beat Homelander.
Oh, they'd fucking destroy him and humiliate him the entire time.
There's a comic where they team up with Superman to beat him. It's not like an official comic, mind you.
Danger exuding from the cave walls. Something was suffocating him, as if it were gripping his
Then again,
insides violently.
On the note of the Powerpuff Girls, they come from a comedy universe, so the fact that they're overpowered is kind of a given.
Yeah.
SpongeBob freaking SquarePants could beat
The cave
Homelander.
inside of Carl's head was clashing with the cave he was currently roaming. Reality was fleeing through the tunnels.
Because unlike Homelander, SpongeBob can take a
Could no
punch.
longer find the firmness of reality. Could no longer differentiate between the cave in his head and the one in front of him.
Can't exactly deal any back, but he can certainly take a punch.
Yeah.
No, you want to talk joke characters that could still beat Homelander? Goofy.
Go. That's more banjo, but yeah.
He's gonna hook. Yeah, he's gonna hook you up.
Face down, ass up. That's the way we like to hook. Yes, that was stupid.
On a more serious note, Spider-Man could probably, like any given spider person, but I'm specifically using Peter Parker from the 90s show who can't even punch. That guy could probably beat Homelander if he's not too busy saving the civilians from collateral damage.
Or talking a mile a minute. I love that show, but they talk
Nature
real
is
fast.
not so petty. Nature itself.
A lot of it's
been
inner
able to
monologue
create
anyway.
such chambers,
Still though, it's like
paths.
he goes through like 5 paragraphs within like a second.
Carl was desperate to find the way out.
I blame the direction of the show, because as we've seen with certain video games, Chris Barnes is a fantastic Spider-Man when given the right material to work with.
Okay, there's got to be a
Like-
trick here.
Funny enough, both of the other Spider-Man, both the other Spider-Man that Chris Barnes has played, that I know of off the top of my head, that appeared in Spider-Verse, he was, well, Chris Barnes was a better Spidey 2099, but that largely deals with the fact that Spidey 2099, Miguel O'Hara was actually written properly in Edge of Time as opposed to in Spider-Verse. I'm sorry, people. Spider-Verse Miguel O'Hara is not Miguel O'Hara. That's superior Spider-Man wearing a Miguel O'Hara costume. As for Spider-Man Noir, though, like, I can't put a favorite on either performance. They're both really good. And honestly, they both go for different things. Chris Barnes definitely handled the more serious noir approach, whereas, you know, in Spider-Verse, Nicolas Cage did a fantastic comedic approach.
Mm-hmm.
Ain't nobody topping Peter B. Parker for me, though. like seriously, the sheer joy with the that he had after actually starting a family. Like, how can you not smile at that?
The part that got me was in the first movie where he, Miles, is able to figure out his fire powers, and Peter B. Parker is just like, you did it! I'm so proud of you! Do I want kids? Like,
And therein, with that one simple question, the majority of his character arc is summed up for that movie.
yep.
It's kind of funny when you consider Peter B. Parker in the Spider-Verse films is precisely the Peter Parker that people want to see in the comics.
Yep.
Not only allowed to grow up and advance to a new stage of his life, but meeting it with such overwhelming enthusiasm, even in spite of the Parker luck. This is what people want to see. A Peter who, even when life gets him down, can still find reasons to be happy.
The flickering light of the lantern gave Carl hope of finding
Because,
his
yes,
the outside.
ideally, a good Spider-Man story has Peter losing more often than he
Blood rushing
wins, but there's still a decent amount of wins.
with painful tingling.
It's never an overwhelming tally in favor of...
Or coming back to life. He welcomed this pain with utter bliss.
Hello?
I'm still here.
Okay.
Like, I know the streams heard me. I heard my echo.
You just kind of cut out there for me.
Like, I was saying, like, the majority of good Spider-Man stories do
Carl
that he
could not
wins,
recognize in this scene.
but the win-to-loss ratio is never that huge.
It was desperation and madness.
He wins
that it
almost as
caused
often as he
chaos.
loses, but not
The
quite.
madness greater than man that vibrates an incandescent red. Carl was nearly there. One last stone, and his mission would be complete.
So, yeah, Pete can still struggle. He can still have moments where he's, brought low by the universe. But the fact that he can still pick up, hold his head high, and say, I still have reasons to be thankful and be happy, that's what people seem to want.
Exactly.
And that, effectively, is what Peter B. Parker is. Brought to his lowest point by a series of unfortunate bad luck on top of bad luck. And he still finds a way to forge some level of happiness out of all that pain. Eventually starting a family, and bless him, this is the happiest we've ever seen it.
The bite of the icy wind had never been such a welcome feeling. The exit at last.
Also, I would like to add that Peter B. Parker, according to his intro in the first Spider-Verse movie, has been at it longer than Blonde Peter.
Yeah. So long that Aunt May passed.
Yep. And his marriage to MJ fell apart because...
She wanted kids and he was too scared.
Yep.
Which, again, brings us back to... You did it! I am so proud of you! Wait, do I want kids?
Just that one sentence just solidifies everything. It's like, yes, Peter, you do.
And then we get the scene at the costume ball, I guess you could call it. You know what I'm talking about, where Peter B ends up spilling his guts out to a Mary Jane Watson Parker, just not, you know, the
His.
MJ from his universe.
Just not his MJ.
And honestly, even with all the confusion, I think you... Like, it might just be me, but I swear I think she put two and two together and really...
I think so too.
Like, MJ's not stupid.
Despite what the Raimi films may have you believe.
If your only experience with Mary Jane Watson is through the Raimi films, you have not met Mary Jane Watson.
I want to say the closest we've gotten to a cinematically accurate Mary Jane Watson may be the Tom Holland movies.
I'd argue that the most cinematically accurate Mary Jane Watson actually Gwen Stacy in the TASM films.
Yeah. I can kind of see that. But the MJ in the Tom Holland films has that sass and snark that we know MJ has.
Like, there is a reason Pete fell head over heels for her.
And it's not just because...
It's
it's not just because she's a
not
pretty
just her
redhead.
looks. She's got brains. Like, she's got brains behind those, you know, pretty eyes of hers. She's very, very smart. Like, she can be manipulative when she wants to be.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, you know, she's no coward. She rocked up to a fight between Pete and a supervillain and shot the Greek Goblin in the face to protect Peter. Mary Jane is smart, beautiful, has a bit of a fiery temper to her.
One could say she's a firecracker.
Like,
If you don't know what I'm talking about, people, that was often how people would describe people like MJ back in the day. People who are fiery and passionate. It's also afraid. Oh, sorry.
Like, give MJ a set of powers or equipment that emulates powers, she will get right out there in the thick of it along with Pete.
Mm-hmm. And also, shit, why am I blanking on his name now? It was a phrase used by a character in Young Justice quite a bit. Kent Nelson, a.k.a. Dr. Fate.
We're also at 2 hours, 20 minutes.
I need to find a campfire.
And I better get ready for my errands later. But yeah, suffice to say, to reiterate what I put out there, if your only experience is the Sam Raimi movies, you don't know MJ.
What were we talking about before I brought that up?
You were describing MJ's personality there.
Right. I brought up Sam Raimi, and then my brain just went.
Yeah, like we were also talking about how, letting Peter actually find things to be happy about to motivate him to keep going is a good thing.
That too.
Because, like, Peter can and should be motivated by more things than just guilt.
Alright.
Like, his life doesn't have to be a swirling torrent of
I swear.
At least not one of his own making.
I swear, at this point, I feel like Mephisto himself is actually in control of Marvel.
I also think there's a mandate to never undo one more day.
Alright, people. That's going to be it for today. Tomorrow we'll be back with more Fallout Friday, but we will also be taking a look at the Game Awards, which, I mean, yeah, I'm going to be watching them tonight, but I figured, you know what? Why not? Why not show them off tomorrow as well? Because we've done it before, so. But, yeah. Thank you all for watching. This is Vegas Fair 92.
And an overly chatty Nekumon.
And support us in any way you can. If you can donate or subscribe, great. Any little bit is appreciated. But
the phrase you're looking for is every little bit helps.
Yes, thank you. But if you can't, we also understand that too. Times are
Especially
tough.
this time of year.
Yeah, especially this time of year. Times are tough, and
We're all broke down here, Georgie.
but you can help us just by watching streams, commenting, like interacting. Subscribing.
Commenting, interacting, sharing the clips around,
subscribing to the YouTube channel, which is Vegas Bear, capital V, capital Bear. And yeah, word of mouth, sharing clips, getting our name out there, because I suck at networking.
Like, you've heard this spiel before.
Yep.
Not like every YouTuber with a pulse doesn't do this.
Gotta find a way to condense this shit. But regardless, thank you all for watching. It really means a lot. We will be back tomorrow. But until then, stay safe, stay comfy, be good to each other.
Stay good to each other.
Beware spectral mooses.
Mises? Who's it?
And we'll see you on the next one. Peace.